All right. Well, good afternoon, good morning, good evening, depending on where you're joining us from today. And welcome to the first ever World Ranger Day Festival. So happy World Ranger Day to everyone. My name is Joe Grabowski. I'll be your host throughout the day. And we're going to spend the day exploring organizations and rangers and learning about the work they do all over the world. So buckle in. It's going to be a long day, over 20 hours of live events as we circle the globe to spend time with rangers and celebrate the work that they do. As everyone knows, joining today, July 31st is World Ranger Day. So this is a day to commemorate the rangers who are killed or injured in the line of duty around the world, as well as to celebrate the work rangers do to protect the world's natural and cultural heritage. So we want to spend the next 20 or so hours sharing their stories, the ecosystems and species they protect, the numerous challenges they face, and the victories both large and small. So this virtual festival has a simple goal. We want to celebrate incredible men and women doing incredible things around the world, day in and day out. Rangers around the world deal with challenging and dangerous working conditions, often face threats, injury, disease, and even death on the front line of protecting wild areas, historical and cultural sites. Despite these risks, rangers' efforts are not often fully recognized, appreciated, or supported with adequate resources and training. The job of a ranger requires exceptional skills, professionalism, and the highest standards of personal conduct. But surveys show that they are dealing with low wages, limited access to healthcare, and inadequate training and equipment. So our goal with this festival is to provide a platform for rangers around the world to share their stories each year and to hopefully raise some funds to support organizations that support them. So this festival is free to join, but we do hope that you do choose to visit the website, globalbiofest.com/Ranger Day, and we'll post that throughout the day and make a donation to help support their work. So their work is essential for the effective management of wild, historical, and culturally significant places and meeting global goals for sustainable development and protecting biodiversity. So we're going to jump right into our live events now. So I'm coming to you live from Canada all day long today, and our first event is going to take us all the way to the other side of the world. We are going to head to Nepal. So we have Baral joining us, and he is the country director for Nepal with the Zoological Society of London. He's also a passionate birder, having won a Whitley Award for conservation of endemic bird species in Nepal. He's the first and only Nepalese ornithologist with a PhD, and he also spent 4 years as a full-time naturalist at Royal Chitwan National Park. So let's see if we can bring Hem in here with us now. Hem, how you doing today?
Hello. Yes, I'm good. How are you, Joe?
I'm good. It's such a pleasure to see you, and thank you so much for helping us kick off World Ranger Day today.
Yeah, thank you for having me on your show, and happy World Rangers Day to you and all the listeners to this presentation.
All right. Well, let's get started. I think the best place to start is to get to know you a little better, Hem. So why don't you introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about the work that you do?
So, hello, everybody. Greetings. My name is Hem. I work for Zoological Society of London for its Nepal office. And I'm basically a biologist by background. I did my higher studies on birds and their conservation. And I have in the past worked for different organizations, for example, tourism organizations, where I used to work as a nature guide, leading people, showing birds and wildlife and telling them the importance of wildlife to us. And then, of course, I've also worked for conservation organization, for example, the BirdLife Nepal, which is the representative of the BirdLife International here in this country, and a few other organizations, finally moving to ZSL in 2013. And I used to be more in the field, doing a lot of research on birds and other wildlife. But now the position I hold is more a managerial position, and I manage various projects for GSL Nepal office, and also people. I manage people. And I have a quite a diverse interest from tourism to biodiversity, and of course, we very much work closely with the rangers of this country. Thank you.
All right. Great, Hem. Well, I'm always curious about where people's passions come from, and I wonder, what led you to pursue a career in nature and conservation?
Well, that's very interesting, Joe. I have been always been interested in wildlife and natural history. I grew up in a small village in the East Nepal where, as a very young child, I used to visit a very big river. And when I visited that big river during my childhood, I used to see these freshwater dolphins jumping out of the water and just, producing that very peculiar sound. And well, that was a very early childhood, and that kept, those kind of incidences stayed with me for a long time. And when I had the choice to study subjects, then I thought I would study biology. I've always been close to the nature. I have loved plants and wildlife, and that's how this really went up. Then there was one day I got an opportunity to work in this famous Chitwan National Park as a guide, and that work actually was, although I had that instinct and love for wildlife, but that opportunity provided me for me to fall in love more with the wildlife. And that was really a turning point for me. And I saw that there was a huge gap in knowledge with regard to the wildlife in this country. And then from that point onwards, I decided that I will take biodiversity research and their conservation, especially focusing on birds, those days, because I did see a clear gap on bird research and conservation in this country. And that really led to where I am now. You're muted, I think.
There you go. Hem, everything I've seen about Nepal, it's just an absolutely beautiful place. And I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the natural areas, some of the protected areas that you work in.
Yes. So basically, Nepal is, how do I compare? So Nepal is in size, you can compare, it's slightly bigger than England and Wales combined. So I think it's more for European context. I think it's more, relevant. So slightly bigger than England and Wales combined. And it is a mountainous country. Most of the geographic landscape we have are full with mountains. It is situated just in the northern part of India, north of India, and southern part of the Tibet Autonomous Region of China. So it's really kind of tiny country that is squeezed between these two giants. These are the two most populous nations in the world, with each having more than 1 billion people. And Nepal is long east-west and short north-south. So, and if you look at the geographic, the terrain of the country, the southern part is the very southern tip is the plains, what is called Gangetic Plain, and it's really flat land, really, really flat, no hills. But as you go northwards traveling, you can find the hills, and within a distance of 150 kilometers, about 100 miles, you can travel from something like 60 meters above sea level to the height of the Everest, which is, of course, the highest point on the earth. So it's really quite diverse in that sense, and that topography, that, contrast in the height gives various different kind of climates and the habitats, different ecosystems, and therefore the wildlife. So we have in this country, in that geographic landscape, we have something like 20 protected areas. They are under different categories. For example, national park, wildlife reserve, conservation area, hunting reserve, and it depends where they are. If they are in the mountains, they are managed very much participatory with, participation of local people, because the government will not have the resources to reach everywhere because of the terrain, and also the lifestyle of people has to be respected. People have been living there for a long time, and but if you come down to the lowland, this really the southern part where the protected areas harbor highly prized animals, especially in terms of illegal wildlife trade. Those are there in the really southern plains, and those are strictly protected. With the rangers working day and night, 24 hours a day, and patrolling all the time, and so that is really the kind of background of our protected area network in the country.
All right. Excellent. Well, it does sound like an incredible place and varies so much for such a small country as well. So let's talk a little bit about rangers. I'm really interested in how you work with the rangers.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, as the organization ZSL, we have many projects in protected areas of this country and outside the protected areas, and we are actually working with rangers all the time. We are working with the frontline staff all the time, supporting them, and every time we have a research project or a livelihood project, whatever the projects may be, we have to have the involvement of the rangers, who have quite a big wealth of knowledge into the ecosystem, species, as well as local people living around the periphery of the park or in the buffer zone of the park. So our work is actually, I was looking at all the project and all the implementation side, and I found that almost everything we do, it is all done with the support of the rangers. Every implementation part, all the discussion we do, and rangers have been crucial for the success of our conservation projects in Nepal, and we continue to support them in many ways. We hold many meetings with them. We listen to their work, their challenges, and we discuss with other partners, including conservation partners and government partners, how best we can eliminate some of the challenges that our ranger units, ranger force face. So again, on the ranger side, actually, we have rangers employed by the government. Then we have these frontline staff, our own staff, as well as conservation partners staff, who are working as a ranger all the time. Then we have another thing we have in this country is the community members who are working as rangers on volunteer basis. And we are also working along with them, because these youths, usually these are youth people, youth from the society. And they are very passionate, they're very dedicated, and they have this spontaneous interest on conserving biodiversity and helping to support. And again, we sit with these kind of groups, volunteer groups, how best to support, how to train them in various aspects of the work they do.
Well, Hem, you mentioned challenges and how part of what you do is working to alleviate some of those challenges that rangers face. Can you talk about a few of those challenges that rangers face in Nepal?
Well, I think the challenges are many, Joe. And I would think that many of our rangers are facing similar challenges all over the world. That other ranger colleagues are facing. And these include related with their livelihood. The security of their jobs, and the incentives. Like they are, every time they go on patrol, they will have to, if they have to leave family behind, and they have to do a challenging job. Sometimes they don't even know whether they are going to return back or not. In instances of the big poaching gang, if that is working in that area, and of course we all know that some rangers have fallen. They have lost their lives during the duty they were doing. So another thing is the insurance. Like, okay, I'm passionate, I'm dedicated in this field. I'm working to protect biodiversity for for many other people, not for him, not for her. So what happens if my life is lost? Who will look after my family? My children. Those kind of issues. And the other thing is, of course, these rangers come from the village, and they are doing this kind of law enforcement work, as directed by the respective government of the country. And when they do that, they will have to face some kind of anger from the community members, from the same community, perhaps from where they come. So, there are some issues. Rangers will have to go back to that village. They live in that village. Their family is there. How to make sure that their safety is another utmost concern. And the other thing is, providing jobs to families, just in case this mishap happens. And these guys are going through a lot of psychological warfare kind of thing happening in their mind all the time. Once they have taken some decision, then what is going to happen after that. So those kind of things we have faced quite a lot. And basically through the organization I work, GSL, we try to where possible, if there is an intervention that we can make it immediately, we do it. Otherwise, there are some interventions that require long-term policy changes. We communicate with the government, we sit in the same table, and we try to solve to the level possible from our side. You're muted again.
It's too early in the morning here, Hem. The day just started here. It's midnight here in Canada.
You haven't had any coffee, have you?
No. I'm not a coffee guy. I should try it though. I might have to today.
Okay.
You mentioned the many challenges that rangers face, even right within their own community. So I wonder, what do you think, even facing those challenges, why do you think they remain so passionate? What do you think drives them to continue in this line of work?
I think that is, again, another aspect, Joe. I think there are two things on that part, mainly two things, I would think. The first is that when the rangers have joined this job, they're already passionate and they're already dedicated, and they are joining because they want to be in a job that they think they will enjoy the most. So that is really driven by the passion and the dedication they have. And the other group is perhaps they don't have that passion. Perhaps they are driven by the need of the job at that point. So we have also those kind of people. But many of these newcomers, once they enter into the job, the motivation from the seniors, the motivation from the conservation partner. Actually, we have really good community conservation leaders, which is, again, a positive side. These motivators really instill, this kind of knowledge and that kind of positive thing to these people. And many of these who are not dedicated, who are not passionate in the beginning, they enter into the job, and they come out to be really passionate and really dedicated, fighting for, fighting to stop the illegal activities and other things that can harm the wildlife and biodiversity. So I think it's mainly two things.
Yeah, absolutely. Makes total sense. Hem, Hem, you've had a long career in conservation, in nature. So, I wonder if there's a moment in your career. I'm sure there's lots of them, but is there a moment that stands out, a proud accomplishment, something really exciting, a story, something from the field that you can share with us today, something that drives you to keep going every day?
Sorry about this neighbor's dog here. Hope you can still hear me. You know, as you said, there are too many incidences to remember, especially working with rangers. And I think that, it's the same event that takes place many times, but I will mention this, that sometimes I have been doing this for a long time now. A pair of bins, a pair of bins, new one or old one, and every time I share a pair of bins to these rangers, and when they receive it, the smile they have, we in this country we don't have the custom of saying thank you, but you can just look at their face, they smile, that positive feeling, and that gratefulness, you get from these people, because these items, these equipments are so essential. Like rangers will need GPS, binoculars, field boots, good field boots to be able to walk in terrains that are often very difficult. And I really, I feel like, my goodness, what a contribution we are making. We are supporting our people, our rangers, who are guarding the natural heritage for us, for our ancestors, for our next generations. So it's a lovely feeling, when I see that, when I meet rangers, every time.
Absolutely, no question. We're time just flies. We're getting close to the end of our time together of the first event of the festival. But I know from reading a little bit about you that you're a real bird guy, and that's pretty awesome. I studied a little bit of ornithology in university myself, and so I'm wondering, is there a particular species in Nepal that is a real highlight for you, something you love to see in the wild?
There are several species. We have, 888, 888, the species here. Biodiversity is quite high in this country. I think I have seen most of what I wanted to see in terms of body species in this country, but I will mention one or two names to you because you asked this. One is the bird called ibis bill. It's a wadder. It's a wadder which has a bill like an ibis, down curved, and it's a wadder in its own family. It's the only member. It breeds just at the foot of the Himalayas. Like there are snow-capped mountain on. You can see that, and right at the base of that snow-capped mountain, a small stream is coming out. That's where these birds breed, summer, and then of course in winter they go down to the lowlands, to the last of the foothills. They don't cross the last of the foothills. They usually stay inside those foothills, and they like those braided channels of the rivers. That's where they like to winter and feed, probing, through the gravels and sands, getting some insects. So ibis bill is, I think, a really kind of enigmatic Himalayan wadder, and that's been my every time I see that, I've seen that many times, but every time I see that, a lot of excitement comes. And then, of course, another bird, which is very powerful, which inspires, me, is the bearded vulture, also called lammergeier. And it's a vulture that lives in the mountains of Himalayas here, and Alps, and also in African mountains. It does have quite a wide range of distribution. But it's a vulture, but it's not bald. It has a little beard coming out, and it has very, a lot of special habits that I will not have time here to share. But it has a wingspan of 9 foot. It
Wow.
it glides in the air, like it's beautiful, the flight, very graceful flight. And I think, a couple of these birds, and there's so many others, of course, but a couple of these birds, when I see, every time I see, they just, they take me with them. Fantastic.
All right. Well, Hem, one thing I can definitely tell from our short time together is that you're a passionate guy, passionate about conservation, passionate about your work with rangers, of course, passionate about birds. I really want to take a moment to thank you for the work that you're doing, the work you're doing with ZSL, the work you're doing in local communities. And it was really such a pleasure to have you join us and kick off our World Ranger Day Festival.
Thank you, Joe, for having me. And I wish you all the best for this long session. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Hem. You have a great rest of your day.
Bye bye.